Scramblers are the hottest bikes on the market right now, and a lot of them are a costume, not a motorcycle. A few bolt knobby tires and a high pipe onto a street chassis, toss on a heat shield, then call it adventure, while the price jumps into 5 figures. Some are just disappointing, some drain your bank account, and a few get sketchy the second you leave pavement. We ranked all 12, starting at not worth it, and ending with the most hyped scrambler of the last decade, the one with a flaw most owners learn about way too late. Royal Enfield Meteor 350 Scrambler variant. Kicking off the list with the Royal Enfield Meteor 350 in Scrambler trim. Under $5,000, wire wheels, classic silhouette. On paper, it sounds like a smart entry point into the category. Ride it back to back with anything else and the story changes fast. The 349 cubic centimeter air-cooled single makes 20 horsepower. That's not a typo. A 250 cubic centimeter sport bike from 2005 made more than that. Above 60 miles per hour, the vibration gets bad enough that your mirrors go blurry and your hands go numb inside 45 minutes. The Scrambler claim is purely cosmetic. Ground clearance is barely better than a standard commuter, and the suspension doesn't have the travel to back up the look. It won't strand you on a trail because it was never meant to be on one. It's cheap to keep running, and the next bike won't be. Benelli Leoncino 500. Italian name, Chinese ownership, identity crisis baked in from the factory. The Leoncino 500 can't decide if it's a naked bike or a scrambler, and the spec sheet reflects that confusion. The 500 cubic centimeter parallel twin makes 47 horsepower, which sounds reasonable until you find out the bike weighs 430 pounds. Then it feels flat the second you drive out of a corner. Higher mileage examples show known oil consumption issues, and parts availability outside major cities is patchy. It looks sharp in photos, but the moment you twist the throttle, the illusion falls apart. The Benelli struggles because it has no history to lean on. The next bike has the opposite problem. It leans so hard on its history that it expects you to pay for the badge alone. Triumph Street Scrambler, pre-2019. Pre-2019. Street Scramblers still command prices the bike doesn't earn, and you feel that heritage tax the minute you ride one. The 900 cubic centimeters single from the Bonneville platform feels smooth around town, but it runs out of breath fast once speeds climb and the bike starts asking for revs. It doesn't really want to give. In traffic, it runs hot and every red light turns into a slow roast. The suspension is tuned for the look, not the job. So anything rougher than a gravel driveway makes it bottom out and clunk. Take it off-road, and the Scrambler story falls apart because you're still on a street chassis with a high pipe. That whole paying for the idea thing gets even worse on the next one. Ducati Scrambler Icon, first gen 2015 to 2018. Ducati built the first gen Scrambler Icon to chase the lifestyle market, and commercially it worked. The bike itself has real problems. The 803 cubic centimeter L-twin makes 73 horsepower, and the motor is actually decent, which makes the rest of the bike more annoying, not less. Electrical gremlins are common on early builds, instrument cluster failures, random warning lights, throttle-by-wire glitches that pop up mid-ride. The desmodromic valve system needs servicing every 7,500 miles, and you're looking at $600 to $900 each time just to keep it happy. The subframe cracks under hard use, a known issue Ducati corrected later without a recall, so plenty of used bikes out there still carry the risk. Cracking subframes are bad, but the next bike has a problem that goes straight into the engine. Moto Guzzi V7 Stone. The V7 has a devoted following, and the transverse V-twin sound is genuinely addictive. Devotion doesn't fix bad engineering, though. Early V7 3 models had a documented camshaft wear problem where the cam lobes wear down prematurely and send metal particles through the oil. If the bike you're looking at hasn't had the cam and followers inspected and replaced, you could be buying an engine that's already grinding itself apart from the inside out. The 744 cubic centimeters V-twin makes 52 horsepower, which is underpowered for the bike's weight and the gearbox is notchy and imprecise in a way that gets old fast. Parts can take a while to show up, and plenty of shops won't touch the work. At least with the Guzzi, you're buying a factory mistake. Our number 7 spot is a trap you usually walk into on the used market, where the mistakes are made in a stranger's garage. Honda CB 500X Scrambler conversion. This one isn't a factory bike at all. It's a CB 500X fitted with aftermarket bars, a high pipe, and knobby tires, then sold privately or through small dealers as a Scrambler build. The CB 500X is a solid motorcycle on its own terms, reliable, smooth, sensible, but it has no business going off-road, and the mods don't change that. Buyers pay Scrambler money for a commuter with cosmetic changes, then inherit shortcuts with no warranty and no accountability. Stuff like the wrong tires, a loud pipe that kills low end, or bars that mess with steering. It all gets missed when someone builds a Scrambler in their garage. A bad conversion is still a bad conversion. The next manufacturer charges full MSRP for the same trick. Indian FTR 1200S. The FTR 1200S arrived with the kind of hype that makes you want to believe it. Flat track inspiration, aggressive lines, 123 horsepower from a 1,203 cubic centimeter V-twin. The press loved it. Then people actually rode them. The chassis and suspension don't manage that power well, and the front end is the biggest issue because you get almost no feedback through the bars about what the front tire is doing. So when speeds climb, that vague feeling starts messing with your confidence. Then you run into the ergonomic failure. The seat is flat and hard, and the peg to seat to bar relationship never really relaxes. So 45 minutes in, you're shifting around trying to find comfort that isn't there. Add the rear cylinder heat, cooking your right leg in traffic, plus early fuel mapping surging at low throttle, and the hype drains fast. Surging throttle is annoying. What's coming next is worse because the problem isn't in the fuel map, it's structural. Husqvarna Svartpilen 701. The 701 is the one bike on this list that looks like it could actually back up its Scrambler credentials, and in some ways, it does. The 692 cubic centimeters single makes 74 horsepower. The WP suspension is legitimate off-road equipment, and the build quality is serious. The flaw is something no amount of good engineering on the rest of the bike can cancel out: vibration. At highway speeds, the single-cylinder thumper sends sustained, relentless vibration through the bars, the pegs, and the seat. Not annoying buzzing, fatiguing, joint-stressing vibration that makes long-distance riding a physical problem. Service requirements are steep: oil changes every 6,000 miles, valve checks every 12,000, and the valve check on this chassis means serious labor hours. The WP suspension that works so well in the dirt is punishingly harsh on pavement, so the bike is constantly fighting itself between two identities. Resale drops quickly because the ownership community knows exactly what the running costs look like. High maintenance is painful on its own. The next entry stacks electrical problems right on top of it. Zero DSR, electric scrambler category. Zero's marketing for the DSR is compelling, adventure-capable, trail-ready, zero emissions, clean spec sheet. Real-world ownership tells a different story. The advertised 100-plus mile range shrinks to somewhere between 60 and 70 miles once you factor in cold weather, highway speeds, or any meaningful elevation change. On an actual trail route, remote from any charging infrastructure, running low means you're not calling someone with a gas can. The surrounding electronics, dash, connectivity module, charging port show documented failure rates that Zero's customer service is consistently slow to resolve. Battery degradation on older models is a real financial problem, and replacement costs are high enough to flip the value equation entirely. The purchase price is steep, and you carry range anxiety the whole time. The Zero is a case of a company trying too hard with new tech. Our number 2 spot is the exact opposite, a company that barely tried at all, raiding the parts bin to chase a trend. Yamaha SCR950. Yamaha took the Bull Cruiser, added a high pipe, some knobby tires, and a Scrambler badge, then sold it at a premium. That decision is the whole story. The 942 cubic centimeter V-twin makes 54 horsepower, and it's torquey and pleasant at low speeds on a cruiser where it belongs. The chassis sits low, suspension travel is minimal, and the riding position dumps your weight over the rear wheel, which makes loose surfaces feel sketchy fast. Ground clearance is so limited, a speed bump takes planning. The wide V-twin pushes your knees out, and that makes it nearly impossible to stand on the pegs, which is basic off-road riding. Yamaha killed it after 2 model years, and that turns it into an orphan bike. Used prices look tempting, but when you need oddball parts or specific trim pieces, you're stuck hunting forums and eBay while the bike sits, because Yamaha already moved on. The SCR950 is a scrambler in name only. Number One took that same idea, added a massive price tag, and turned it into the most expensive disappointment in the category. Ducati Desert Sled, 2017 to 2020. The Desert Sled is everything the scrambler market wanted. The badge, the wire wheels, the long travel suspension, knobby tires, and looks that close the sale before the test ride happens. On paper, it's legitimate 803 cubic centimeters L-twin, upgraded chassis, built to actually go off-road. The subframe cracking problem from the standard icon carries straight over, and it's worse here because Desert Sled buyers actually take it off pavement and stress the chassis the way the name implies they should. The rear shock is under-damped from the factory, so on rough terrain, it pogos badly right when you need confidence and control most. The desmodromic valve system needs professional service every 7,500 miles. Budget $800 to $1,200 each time, and skipping it risks catastrophic valve failure, not a gentle warning light. Special editions and the Fast House push new prices above $15,000 for a bike carrying all of these issues. Conclusion. Every bike on this list got onto it for the same reason. The marketing did a better job than the engineering. Scrambler culture sells hard on image, the worn leather, the knobby tires, the idea that you could point the thing at a fire road and disappear into the wilderness. Manufacturers know that, and some of them have built entire pricing strategies around it without building the actual capability to match. That's the trap. You're not just buying a motorcycle when you buy a Scrambler, you're buying a story, and some of these stories cost $15,000, come with a cracking subframe, and need a $1,000 service every few months to stay alive. But before you put money down on anything in this category, do 3 things. First, look up the service intervals and price them out before you fall in love with the looks. Second, search the model name alongside words like subframe, camwear, and electrical issues. Owner forums will tell you what the brochure won't. Third, check whether parts are actually available from dealers in your country, not just on back order from a warehouse on another continent. The right Scrambler does exist. There are bikes in this category that back up the aesthetic with real engineering, and we'll cover those in the next video, but none of them will find you. You have to do the work first. Drop the bike you almost bought down in the comments. A lot of people in this community have already learned these lessons the hard way, and they'll tell you straight. And if you want to catch the follow-up on Scramblers that are actually worth buying, hit subscribe so you don't miss it when it drops.